So here we are. I drilled holes in this part, 2.5mm diameter, which is the right diameter for an M3 thread. Now what I'm going to do is tap that. Now I've got an M3 tap here. It's a taper tap, so you can see it just, if I just try and focus on that area there, you can see hopefully that very fine taper on that, compared to an end plug tap or a bottom tap here. You can see this just goes thread to full depth, nearly right to the end. We'll start with the taper. Now, tap wrench, you need a selection. A big heavy tap wrench like that with a small taper, you're more likely to break the tap. I use a very lightweight tap wrench for small taps. Tighten it up in there, make sure it's really tight. You don't want that coming loose. You really want to just make sure you're holding it correctly. Put a small amount of cutting fluid on there, and then I'm going to line that up with the hole. Carefully wind it into that hole. Carefully at first with the taper. I'm just winding it carefully in. It's going in square. Then just wind it back. You'll see just a little bit. Now in the first few turns you won't be able to wind it back. You'll want to just wind it in, but very soon you'll have to be careful, because if you wind it in too much in one go, it will get snagged. You'll get too much. You can feel it there. Look, it's just starting to snag when you turn it back. So you have to just wind it backwards and forwards. Don't put too much pressure on it, and just get it aligned. And then half a turn forward in, and then wind it back up to the stop. Half a turn forward, and then wind it back up to the stop. Half a turn forward and then back. Again, half a turn forward and then back. Half a turn forward and then back. Half a turn forward and then back. And we keep going like that, very carefully. Half a turn forward and back. Now you can even just take that tap out and just clear any swarf out of it, and just put some more cutting fluid on, because that will help you if you're in particularly tricky material. Now I am going to do that on this. This is only mild steel, but I'm just going to wind it out. Careful not to damage your thread. Wipe that clean. Yeah, just wipe that clean. Tap it, make sure there's nothing in there. Then I'll just put some more cutting fluid on that tap. And then just start again. Again, you've got to be really careful now that you don't cross thread it. So we're winding it in. You see it's going in very easily now. It's a good thread. To the stop, half a turn back. Stop, half a turn, and then back. Half a turn, back. Keep just, you're turning it axially. You have to be really careful not to put too much force on it. So stop, turn it, half a turn back, turn it to the stop, half a turn, and then back, half a turn, back, half a turn, back, half a turn, back. Now if you've not used a tap and tap wrench before, I would suggest you start on something like an M6. I wouldn't be using M3s for the first go. I'd get used to some bit bigger taps before you go and use an M3, because you'll find you need to be that little bit more precise with it, a little bit gentler. And again, even when you're winding it out, just take your time, hold. I'm just supporting it there with my fingers, just to make sure I support that tap. I don't want it going wobbly or cross thread it on the way out either. And again, I'll tap it out, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to swap to that plug tap. Here it's plug tap. And again, I'm going to use a small amount of cutting fluid on the end. Small amount of cutting fluid. I don't want any swarf on there that's been left over. Into that thread now, this bottom one, more care, just to make sure it doesn't cross thread. Wind it in, You'll feel this one will go tighter though, because it's winding now into that taper. So now we're winding in and back, winding in, back. Now this one will come to a dead stop. It's going to hit the bottom of that hole. Stop. There, I've gone right to full depth. Got loads of depth in there now for what I want. And I'll wind it back out carefully. And I'll just tap that on the table just to make sure I get the swarf or anything out. And now I've got a really good thread in there. Hopefully you can just see that really there. Good thread.